Once upon a time, in Inti village, people went to farm every day, and their children also went to school every day, except on weekends. The children walked 6 to 7 miles to school each day. This journey was really a worry to their parents. They were not happy about how their children suffered each day. They were always late to school, no matter how hard they tried or how early they would wake up. They received punishment from teachers all the time for being late. Perhaps some teachers were God-fearing. At least they understood how hard it was for them, so they usually did not punish them. Madu was, however, called a lifesaver. Madu was one of the drivers who had always come to pick the villagers from the village to the market each Wednesday, which was their market day. Madu offered to always come pick their children from the village to town each day. He only asked their parent to contribute a little amount of money, whereby he would always buy petrol and fuel his car for such services. They all agreed the amount expected to be paid by each parent was not quite a big deal because it was not so much money they could not afford. The children were happy with the kind gesture Madu offered. Madu started doing his work. Each morning, they would dress up and come out to the roadside and wait for Madu. He would always come twice to pick them in the morning and also brought them back from school in the evening. Madu was really kind and generous. Some months later, the female students started showing Madu behaviors which he did not expect from them. 3 female students, Sarah, Gladys and Joy, claimed they had fallen in love with Madu. They seduced him in any way they could, but Madu stood strong and firm. He did not fall into the traps those children had set for him. He always told them that he sees them as his younger siblings who were suffering and needed help, which he offered to help. So, there was no way he would do anything bad to them. He would not follow their childish and immature behavior and do what was wrong. He always tried to advise them to take their education seriously and quit the habit of chasing men and pushing so hard to satisfy their pleasures. Sarah, Gladys, and Joy refused to listen. They continued doing the opposite of Madu's advice. They complained bitterly about Madu in the house to their parents. They told their parents to change the driver for them. Their reason was not always good enough for their parents to change their driver. They did not mind them whenever they brought up Madu's case for discussion in the house. They therefore planned to get Madu out of the way. They thought highly of themselves that maybe some other drivers would hear them out and satisfy their needs. They hired 2 young boys to steal Madu's car for 3 months. They went to an agreement to hide the car for 3 months before releasing the car to Madu. Fortunately, their plan worked. Their parents, however, were ignorant of the situation. They were not happy about what happened to Madu's car, but then they could not do anything about it. Madu went back and took his certificate to hunt for jobs. The villagers changed a car for their children. This new driver was already into the game. Sarah, Gladys, and Joy got his attention faster than expected. They all had an affair with him less than a month after they met him. They were happy they had his attention. They said he was not as boring as Madu. 3 months later, the boys retrieved Madu's car. However, Madu was not in need of the car anymore. He had gotten a well-paid job in the city, which came with a house and a car. He told them they could have it if they wanted. The boys were jobless, so they took the taxi away and thanked him for his forgiveness and kindness. Meanwhile, Sarah, Gladys and Joy got pregnant for the same man and dropped out of school. The driver denied being responsible for their pregnancies and also left town to an unknown destination. Their parents were disappointed in them and therefore did not like them anymore. They suffered in their parents' house as if they were slaves. Madhu, upon hearing the tragedy that had befallen them, went and visited them. They were embarrassed to see Madhu. They realized how good Madhu was and they really appreciated him. But then it was too late to go back and change things. Madhu presented a gift to them and left to the city. They stayed in the village until they gave birth, and their parent offered them a plot of land to farm on and cater for themselves. The lessons to be learned from the story is that temptations will always come our way, but we need to stay strong and fight through. And lastly, in our quest to satisfy our emotions and burning desires of today could be the way to our downfall.